Hey, Nicholas Bowling. I just wanted to say that I like much of what you do. I like the effort you put forth using the Word of God. I don't agree with everything you say. In fact, I think, actually, I wanted to send you an invite to have a discussion, a Bible study, if you will, on the Sabbath specifically. I keep the Sabbath. I go back to creation before there was any Jew. And I see that, well, God created this earth. He blessed and sanctified one day. It's very simple. You can read Genesis chapter 1 all the way to 2, verses 4, chapter 2, verse 4, all the way to the end there. And you can go to Exodus chapter 20 and read the Ten Commandments, and you would agree with 9 out of 10 of them, I believe. But God will agree with 10 out of 10. They are His character. But I wanted to say to Nicholas, it's not about an argument either. I think it's more about, why don't we study this in depth? Because, the simple argument for that and the simple understanding is God declares the end from the beginning. When you go to the beginning, you see the creation week. And when you go to the end, you see the book of Revelation and much prophecy, so you can see Daniel in Revelation. And you can also go to 2 Peter. God specifically says, or speaking through the prophets, he says, one day for God is like 1,000 years. So then we can understand that, okay, the Jubilee, this earth is almost 6,000 years old. At 2,000 years was the flood. At 4,000 years, Jesus Christ died on the cross and was resurrected. He resurrected himself with his power. He laid down his life and raised it back up again. Now, divinity cannot die, but humanity can die. And he took our form, sinless and perfect. And as he states in his word, was his custom to keep the Sabbath. And he said specifically, Jesus Christ, the Word of God, the flesh who dwelt among us, Emmanuel, God with us. He said, I am Lord even of the Sabbath day. And so now we get to the end, and you can go to Revelation chapter 20 and read about the 1,000 years that we're going to be in heaven, and this earth is going to be empty. Now, that's the Jubilee. So God declares the end from the beginning, and we can see it. And so those who keep the Sabbath here on earth are preparing themselves, not just the Sabbath, because Jesus was very clear. If you break one of the 10 commandments, you're breaking them all. So, when you whittle it down, it's very simple. If you love me, keep my commandments. Jesus said, in fact, I believe this is in 2 John, it says, he who says that he loves me and keepeth not my commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So now, I think this is where the rubber meets the road, and where we have to realize that sometimes we have traditions and ceremonies that are not biblical, and we have to let go of them. Let me not just say that we have to let go of them. Let me just say this. You have the choice. You can stay with them, or you can follow the Word of God, right? And the Word of God. Now, I always say, if somebody wants to know Jesus today, right now, in this world, the Word became flesh and dwelt among us. Jesus is very specific. Unless you eat my flesh and drink my blood, you can have no part in me. And when Jesus was tempted by the devil, escrito está, it is written, it is written, it is written every time. So what I'm saying is, if you want literally to walk with Jesus, to eat his flesh and drink his blood, to walk with the incarnate God, right now, all you have to do is open up the Word of God, from Genesis to Revelation. You open it up, and you're literally walking with Jesus currently, right now, straight preparing you for the heavenly palace. But I do know this, that my Bible states that in the book of Revelation, God, talking about the New Jerusalem and the new heaven, says that there will be no death, there will be no sin, there will be no tears. And right when we're coming to the close of probation, and I would suggest to you, read the book Great Controversy. Very good book. If you don't want to read the whole book, read the last 7 chapters. That'll 35 to 42. That will, I promise, will give you a different understanding. And it goes hand in hand with the Word of God. Now, what I was trying to say, though, is that when we see that there's no sin in heaven, that there's no breaking of the commandments of God in heaven, then we realize, okay, well, if I'm going to be preparing for heaven, I'm not going to break the commandments on earth, right? And so anybody teaching you, hey, I can just start to kill, I can just start to rob, I can just start to cheat, I can just start to disobey my parents, I can just start to worship idols, I can just, Anybody that's teaching anything against the Word of God is sinning against God. And thus we understand that when the price of sin, the payment of sin is death, el pecado es la muerte, the payment that's coming. But if there's no more death and there's no more sin, then we do understand that there will be nobody sinning in heaven. There will be nobody that is breaking any one of the commandments of God, because this is sin to break the commandments of God. So if you're going to teach somebody or say that we're not bound by an old covenant, but we're bound by a new covenant where Jesus specifically said, love God above all else and love your neighbor as yourself, how can you love God above all else and break his commandments? Jesus specifically says that that's a liar. The Bible specifically says, he who says he loves me and keepeth not my commandments is a liar, and the truth is not in him. So I'm going back to the end here. Ain't nobody going to heaven. And this is I want to say on the real, but this is just, if you study the Word of God and you understand the truth about the 10 Commandments, and you don't want to keep the Sabbath, you don't have to. God's not going to force you to keep the Sabbath, I promise you. Nobody will ever have to keep the Sabbath. But if you want to go to heaven, there's going to be 1,000-year jubilee of the Sabbath. If you want to go to heaven, I promise you, you want to walk with Jesus, you're going to keep the Sabbath. Not because, if I don't do it, I'm not going to heaven. No. But because I love my Jesus and I want to walk with him, and I understand that he wants to walk with me, and he blessed and sanctified a certain day. And I want to live in obedience. And I always tell everybody this. It's very simple. It's very simple. You don't have to do it. You can stay here on this earth and burn. That's fine. You can stay here and sleep, and you can stay here and die. And I don't want anybody to die, but the reality of the matter of the fact is, unless we accept the full righteousness of faith, which is Jesus Christ, which is obedience and forgiveness, all wrapped up in one, we can't go to heaven. So I'll just tell you, brother, there's a time for decision in our life, right? I'm not gonna convict you or convince you of anything. I'm not the judge, jury, and executioner. But I am giving you a message from God. In fact, I want you to go to Revelation chapter 14 and read verses 6 through 12, which is the three angels' message. This is the final message of mercy and warning to the world before Jesus comes back, before the end of all things, the day of Armageddon arrives. And I promise you, if you read that, and you say, fear God and give him glory, for the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heavens, the earth, the sea, and the bodies of water, the fountains of water, whatever translation. Then you realize, oh wow, God is bringing us right back to his creation, because he told us from the beginning how it was going to end.